Okay, well, I guess I have the honor of introducing my friend and comrade, Rodney Robertson. He is a resident of Marion for about 6 years by ways of Columbus, Ohio. He has over 35 years of food service experience and a small business owner for 5 years. I remember Rodney when he was first in the mall, when I think it was Jess Holler who did an oral history and on his work. And now that he's out in his establishment by Chipotle, I'm super excited to hear some of his wisdom, super excited to hear what the nature of his business is, and super excited for people to just come and connect to Rodney Robinson. So without further ado, I want to introduce our speaker, Mr. Rodney Robertson.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for those who have joined in with us. Like Johnny said, I'm Rodney, and I've been in Marion for about 6 years. And I'm a Detroit native, but in 1987, I graduated from Southfield High School, and 2 weeks later, I was in Columbus. I landed in Upper Arlington. My mother, who retired from GM, took a relocation. So me, my brother and sister and her, we ended up in Upper Arlington for the first part of our time in Columbus. And at that time, I went and put in some time with the Rye Institute that fall, and to work part time, I got a job at Wendy's right there on Henderson Road in the Northwest Columbus area. And being an introvert, working a drive-through really brought something out of me. So whereas I was always quiet, once I was at work, it was like a light switch went off and I turned on the thing. So I've kind of grew up in the Wendy's organization, which was a tremendous advantage because Wendy's does like to train their folks as if they are running their own business. So settled into Columbus, got married, had a family, and then life just went on. I was performing in the Wendy's organization, and at that time, just wasn't liking the way I was growing, so I changed. And so several years down the road, I had an opportunity to help a Jets Pizza franchise open up in Atlanta, Georgia. So in 2013, I moved to Atlanta for about a year and a half, to experience what it took to get a franchise restaurant group up from a ground level to upper management. So once I was satisfied with that, I came back to Ohio to watch my youngest daughter finish up high school. She was a lettered volleyball player, basketball player, and track. So it was a treat to see her finish up her high school years. That senior year, she committed to volleyball, put her focus towards volleyball, and gained a scholarship for Clarion University. So, that made me so very proud. And when we talked about these forks in the road, we talked about what would I end up doing. And so in coming back to Ohio, I landed in Marion, and I was working a full-time job. And while doing this job, I'm like, man, there's so much more I can do because I had worn so many hats in helping the Jets Pizza franchise open up. So the wheels started turning, and being a lover of popcorn and have even visited the Marion Popcorn Festival as a teen and young adult, um, I got to thinking, where do they purchase popcorn when the popcorn festival isn't happening? So that's where the idea of Pop Sensations came about. And I knew I wanted something to help that concept. So I went into it with the idea of popcorn and ice cream. And in my initial stages of that, I featured Riverside ice cream. Everybody may know Rob Lil and the Riverside ice cream brand. So we did a hand dipped ice cream our first couple of years. And after that, after seeing some of the struggling shops at the mall, again, as a business owner, the wheels got to turning. How do I make a product that I can control how much I have at a time and can entice the customer to come out into the mall and to the shop? Got on YouTube like everybody else for concepts and found rolled ice cream. And man, people were going crazy for this stuff on the internet. So I researched, saw what it would take for me to introduce rolled ice cream in Marion, Ohio. Got my first table, set it up in the back, had some pre-powdered mix that, the starter kit basically, and practiced for about 7 to 10 days before I brought it out front and unveiled it to the customer. And it was a hit right off the bat. People were coming out to see us. We're seeing new customers. We're seeing old customers, but for different reasons now, other than just the popcorn. So now I'm thinking we're growing. We need a bigger space. So the plan went into action as far as a relocation. With this type of concept, you're seeing no less than four rolling tables in an establishment. So we needed more space and to be able to bring to the guests an experience that didn't take up all of their time. So we went into, I went into planning mode, and unfortunately, COVID-19 came upon us. The mall shut down, but I still went forward in what I was trying to do. So when the mall opened up, I was in a position to where it was now ready to relocate the shop. And I've been over here at the 151 Edgefield Boulevard location for over a year now. We opened up last August. So we've passed a year. We're going into our second Christmas season. And as an entrepreneur, for me, it was never wanting to limit myself, never being satisfied in where I was, and always pushing myself.
Wow, Rodney, that was like I had never heard the full arc of your story from where you came from in Southfield to Columbus, Upper Arlington to now where you are. So that full arc, I think, is really enlightening for a lot of us. I wanted to kind of ask a couple questions, if that's okay, and then I'll kind of turn it over to other people to ask some questions of you.
Okay.
I'm kind of interested in um, the products and services that you provide. Can you tell
Yeah.
us a little bit more about the rolled ice cream and tell us a little bit more about the different flavors of popcorn that you serve?
Yeah, Johnny, good question. Because I did want to talk about the services because we're more than just grabbing a bag of popcorn or watching your ice cream be rolled. But in talking about those, for the popcorn, right now I stock on a daily basis over 24 flavors. And when I say over 24, it's because I'll bring in a seasonal flavor. I'll bring in a flavor that we're just trying out for the week, just to get a customer's reaction. So right now for the holiday, we've got say an apple cinnamon popcorn, a cordially yours, which is a cherry with a dark chocolate drizzle on it. And then for the kids, we've got a Who Hash mix, which
Mm.
started when I attended the Benjamin Harrison Santa store, and we wanted to have some products out there. We wanted it to be fun. So we have
Mm.
a red cherry with a green apple and some white chocolate drizzled on it for a Who Hash mix. And then for the rolled ice cream, again, just in talking about that, um, we've always had a signature roll. So we've got 9 signature rolls that we carry on a daily basis. And then, there's so many options you can do with the ice cream that we could do a daily or even most of the time it's just a weekly flavor of the week. And right now, for for the holiday, we put it out to the customers on Facebook, which would they prefer. And we narrowed it down from 4 flavors to 2. And so now we're presenting a hot cocoa flavor and a peppermint bark flavor. So, and when I say we're more than just what's happening here at the retail shop, we do popcorn bars where we come out and set up a variety of selection for you. And then after your event, I come out and break it down and bring back, all the utensils and materials that we use, but the popcorn stays with the client. And then we also do catering events as far as being able to come out and set up rolled ice cream for you. That is something that we have put on pause because of the pandemic, but it's something that we have started and was gaining a lot of traction. And then in the future, we've got a trailer up. Well, I have a trailer up back that will be able to service a guest with 2 ice cream tables and popcorn on a merchandiser to where we can travel throughout Ohio and serve the guests there.
Wow. That's a lot. Like knowing the internal operations and what you're doing and all those different ice creams and all those different popcorn flavors that you're offering. I think that's super amazing and exciting. And it makes my mouth is kind of watering. So I want to allow other people to ask some questions. So let me kind of turn the mic over to our audience. Who in the audience has questions for Rodney?
I wouldn't mind.
I don't have any.
Oh,
I'm sorry.
go ahead. As is that the risk with Zoom, it's going to happen. I'll let, please go. Not even sure who's going to talk. Is it Pastor Jack?
It's me, Pastor Jackie. I don't have any questions, but thank you so much, Rodney, for sharing your story. It's fascinating. That's awesome. I know I visited out at the mall when you were there. I visited, but I haven't been at the new store. But I guess I'm a little old. I've never had rolled ice cream, so I've got to come out so I can see
Yeah.
what that's about. But it sounds like you have an experience, not just coming in getting popcorn or ice cream, but you got some things going where people are really participating in what they're getting. So thank you for sharing.
Yes, thank you for that. It's funny because in sharing my story, the Rodney Robertson you would see outside of Poppin' and Rollin' wouldn't necessarily offer up all this information. But you get me inside this building and I'm an open book because I do recognize where I started and where I am now, and just so much more is available to me. So thank you for that.
I think actually my question, Ronnie, it dovetails on Pastor Jackie's comment as well. But first, I did want to thank you again for telling your story. Awesome story. We're really happy for the success that you have. You mentioned using Facebook to engage your customers and actually have them select, what the next items might be. Have you found that that's been successful for you? Do you have any other examples of where that's worked well, or are there kind of marketing tips as it relates to social media that you've utilized in your business?
Yeah, so the marketing piece isn't my strongest hat. So it does take a lot of conscious effort for me to figure out if I'm just going to try something and see if it works, or if I'm going to, hit a home run. So last year we also did right around March, because it was patterned after March Madness, but we did a breakdown. We put all our popcorn flavors in a bracket, and it really came down to where caramel is my #1 seller, but from a customer appreciation standpoint, Caramel Temptation won out overall. So, and that went about a week out as far as the bracket goes. And so to have that engagement and them to pay attention to those winners, the results, that's something where in asking about new flavors or new items, that's where it really helps. Because I will say, I'm a finicky eater, so I'm self-aware enough to know that I'm always want to listen to someone's feedback. I'm always asking, what would you like to see? What could we do different?
So, Rodney, my question is, you said, and I think this is something that Matt needs to hear as well, but you said you noticed the decline at the mall and the shops were struggling at the mall. What would you contribute that to? Would it be um, the marketplace as far as Marion is concerned? Would it be how much they were charging you for a space? Would it be the hours? What gave you the you were savvy enough to say it's time for me to go? So what were the indicators as far as that was concerned?
Okay, good question, Tara. So when I was in planning stage, I sat in the mall from November to February, the year before I opened. I wanted to see if the foot traffic was there, just what type of clientele was still coming to the Marion Center Mall. So I sat and watched, and determined it would be a good location to open. In my plans, I never had Sears in my plans, but I did have the new Kroger Marketplace in my plans because I thought that would really draw some people back to that south side of town. So when I opened, Sears soon after closed, and then the Kroger Marketplace became flaky with their extensions on having to build out. And so while this is happening, I'm watching other shops open, come and go, open, come and go. So in totality, by the time I left, I probably had 8 neighbors that left me, to where at when Elder Bimmer's finally closed, that was when I started looking into, okay, the hand dipped ice cream. My concern was it's going to sit here too long before going through a tub of it. So that kicked in the relocation and how can I make my own ice cream? Because I didn't mention that part, but we went from the Riverside homemade ice cream to now I actually stepped away from the powdered mix of my first couple of months and created my own recipe for it. So now what you have here at the shop is my own house recipe for ice cream.
Nice, nice, your
Yeah.
own recipe.
So for the
I did want to.
factors that you were asking about, it was the marketplace because of losing the shops. It was growth because after Elder Beerman's did close, about 6 months later, I started to gain momentum back. And by the time we shut down for the pandemic, I was up 200% in sales. So I really felt like, um, because my overhead, aside from all the rumors about the high rent, I had a really reasonable rate. So that was probably the most frustrating part because had things taken off there, it would have been a little gold mine. But but yeah, so after all of those shops shut down, the landscape and it's just happened in the malls all across the country. So I won't even get into that specific how that could have been handled differently, but it's just been happening all across the country. Yeah, because I'm always open up for a collab. I've got product down at the center street market right now. I'm talking to a guy who has blown up on TikTok, and so now he wants to have like a horror themed popcorn that he can kind of market along with his branding. So, yep, I'm always open ears for a collab.
I really, really did like your comments about how long and how much research went into selecting your site and trying to figure out your audience. Those things are so key, and you could do everything right, and still, your paths may change, and things can change. But it sounds like you're always trying to do your homework on that stuff, and that is so key for a small business when they're first trying to figure out, getting their hands on any kind of analytics. And sometimes it just takes sitting down and watching the traffic that's actually there to really capture and know what's going to happen in your location that you're looking at. That was really, really good comments there. Thank you again for sharing that.
Yeah, and that brings up a shout out to the Marion, the Commerce Center, because in doing my research, right there in the room, I was able to grab at least 3 pamphlets or small books that showed me, just how to get my business started. I think one was actually a roadmap from just the inception to everything to make it legalized. So,
Awesome.
so yeah, the commerce, the Chamber of Commerce helped me out a lot there. I spent some time in the room there, and then it was no secret. I was looking for spaces downtown, and just wanted to be a part of the Marion community because, again, as an introvert, I hadn't ventured out much for the 6 years that I have been here. So I really wanted to make it being a part of everything that was going on.
Excellent. And I really think there's some value in this, but can you respond to any other challenges, I guess, that you've faced here opening a business in Marion as it relates to just opening a business, or as it specifically relates to being a minority in opening a business in this community? Did you run into any successes or challenges that you would want to share?
So it wasn't so much as a challenge as it was a frustration. And that was just my first couple of years. I wasn't understanding why I wasn't seeing people of color at my counter. So then I did a little digging and I saw just how where our numbers were in Marion. So I had to step back and think like, okay, so maybe my core group isn't going to be a little, my mask is pulling at my glasses. So maybe my core group isn't going to be like a little Atlanta, but it's, that 1380 white female. So I really had to back away because, I spoke about it probably even to Jess when we talked. And so now it's realizing that I have a market that I cater to, but there's a much bigger market out here. So when it comes to being a Black entrepreneur or looking for Black business, you really just have to find a way to cater to that. Because again, networking isn't my best. Maybe I need to step out, meet some church pastors other than Miss Jessica here. So maybe I just need to ingratiate myself to that part of my market, and then we'll see the fruitions of it showing up at the counter. So that's probably been my biggest challenge, just getting past that frustration of, what it's like to want a certain type of demographic, but to realize this is just my demographic.
My question is, sorry if you've already answered this in other sorts of contexts, but if an organization in Marion, kind of like the TikTok influencer you're working with, say Marion Voices, for example, wanted to partner with you either for a benefit or something like that to create and sponsor a flavor, what does it look like to initiate something like that? Is it a cost different businesses and nonprofits would pay you to design the flavor? I'm just curious because I think that idea of like doing custom rolled flavors or popcorn flavors that can set the mood for certain events or campaigns is really interesting. So I was just curious, since a lot of us in the room run organizations or run other businesses, what are the opportunities looking like on that front for you guys? Okay, so when we talk about something like that, it really just comes down to the availability of the resources. So when Christy Butler over at Marion Technical College approached me about a Marion Tech blend, it was just a matter of if I could get the blue, do we need it flavored, do we just want it to have color? So those kind of conversations, it just comes down to, are the resources available to me? Because if it falls within my price line, usually there's no upgraded price just to create a flavor for you. Like I said, with the ice cream, there's so many different options out there that we can always run a special. I think Johnny and I talked about, oh man, I forget the flavor that we talked about last year. Colin Kaepernick had a flavor with Ben and Jerry's.
So we were going to replicate those flavors and those toppings that were on that ice cream. So yeah, it's just a matter of if those things are available to me.
Good to know. Dangerous information for all of us in the room. Thank you, Rodney.
Yep.
Hey, but those cocoa bombs are the bomb. You guys know about, are you guys hip to those cocoa bombs?
Can someone describe it in like
Oh
a
my
lot of
God,
a
it's
lot of
heaven.
detail, please?
Heaven on earth, I'm telling you.
I'm gonna
Oh
need more
my
specifics.
gosh.
Is it a cookie?
A lot of sugar in it.
It's cocoa, hot chocolate. You guys like hot chocolate?
Oh,
Yeah.
it's like those things you put and they pour out the hot cocoa mix
And then
once
it's
they
like
melt.
boom, like you put it in the hot chocolate and whatever's in that bomb. Oh my gosh. That thing is amazing.
Yeah. So those are chocolate shells. The one I showed was a pumpkin spice. So in that white chocolate shell, there's a pouch of pumpkin spice hot cocoa. And you're just gonna place that in your mug, pour some milk over it, some hot steamy milk, and just watch it explode and then mix it up and enjoy it.
Yeah, I would have loved that as a teacher, Pastor Jackie. I would have loved to have that in the classroom that is heaven on earth, those bombs. Oh my gosh.
Maybe we need to go out and get something, the in between Sunday school and
Oh my
in
gosh.
church.
I want to say thank you again to Rodney for presenting to us. Like, it's always a pleasure to hear your story, your arc of entrepreneurship. Thank you again to Matt for hosting us at the Chamber. Thanks for everybody that came tonight, and so excited for you all to build with us.